Oh, it's you again. Welcome back.
Very interesting.
Hi. I'm Marc. I'm a professional artist and art teacher, and in this week's episode of my life-changing series that I call YouTube Art School, I'll explain the 3 habits that made it possible for me to turn professional at a very young age, and obviously, the point of this whole video, how you can also get real good, real fast by doing the same.
Wow.
And the cool part is that it doesn't require you to do anything extra, only to do a few things differently. That's good value. Quickly, let's get this class started. Alright, class is in session. Pay attention. There are 3 factors, or more like habits, since we have control over them. So 3 habits that I value more than anything when it comes to getting better as an artist and improving fast. I heard from your doctor that's what you're looking for. These are 3 habits we have direct control over and around which I built my entire art program, because I've seen their power over time again and again. Oh, by the way, you'll find a coupon in the video description for a big discount on the art program, valid until the end of the month. Only a few days left. Now, where was I? Oh, right. I now realize the importance of those habits, now that I'm much more experienced as an artist and have been teaching for many years. But obviously, I didn't fully realize it when I was younger. I kind of ended up doing all 3 by pure coincidence, but it worked so well that I was able to earn enough money to fully support myself by age 17. And please, don't think I'm just bragging. First, I'm far from being the only one anyways, and I'm really just pointing this out to emphasize just how powerful this stuff is. I'm only here to help. So heck, what are those habits? Come on, let's get the juicy bits already. I have them as separate chapters in a video timeline, so you can jump to any of them right now, but we'll look at how to observe better first, how to study second, and finally, what to focus on in your portfolio. So if you want quick results, if you want to maximize your art gains as much as humanly possible, give those a shot. Very powerful stuff. Now allow me to explain these properly. I think the main advantage artists have when they start at a young age is not so much the extra practice you get during those extra years, because let's face it, most of the practice you get as a kid is not great practice. Instead, I'd argue it's the additional time you get to observe and grow your visual library. And this is key because how well you observe is the most important art skill there is, ever. I'm not talking about simply seeing here, that's for peasants. I'm talking about observation, aka how much information you can extract and remember from the things that you see. There is this thing in psychology called the illusion principle, where we tend to notice more easily or frequently things that are relevant to us. You know, like if you've been hitting the gym, you'll start to notice other people's physical shape a lot more. Or if you're shopping for a car, you'll suddenly see that car everywhere on the roads. Obviously, nothing's changed around you, but because those things are relevant to you now, your brain knows to pay closer attention. So subconsciously, you start observing better. My point here is that the sooner you start to learn about art and the sooner you start drawing, the sooner this effect can start to take place. As a kid interested in art, subconsciously I was likely paying attention to my surroundings a lot more than other kids who weren't interested in art. I was already training my observation skill. Obviously, most of us here aren't kids anymore, based on the YouTube stats at least. So cool story, bro. You did this as a kid, but now as grown-ups, how can we use this? Well, there's a simple way to increase the effect of the illusion principle, and as a result, observe better and grow your visual library faster. A way to make it work a heck of a lot better than when I or you were a kid. To illustrate the concept, I like to imagine everything we see when our eyes are open as potential information to make us better artists. When your observation skill sucks, it's almost like having huge horse blinders on. You know, the things by their eye to limit their field of view? There's a lot of information out there, but you don't really notice it. When you develop your observation skill, the blinders start to open and you notice more. The more you can observe, the faster you learn. So this only begs the question, how do we improve our observation skill ASAP? And how can it be better to hear this as an adult instead of at a younger age? Kids pick up everything faster, no? No. The answer is to study art. Learn about the rules of art, the art fundamentals. What? Hear me out. If all those things suddenly become more relevant to you because you're studying them, the illusion principle kicks in And just like you might notice the car that you're shopping for more often on the road, you'll start subconsciously noticing all the things around you that are related to art. It's like magic. And I say it works better as adults because we can study better. We understand more complicated concepts more easily, and we can normally be more deliberate in our studies. Usually, at least. The more you know about art, the better you can observe art-related things around you. Subconsciously. It makes a huge difference. Observation is not everything, though. Actually practicing drawing or painting will also help you take advantage of the illusion principle. So let's talk about that now. What should you study exactly? I talked about studying the art fundamentals, but what is that? How do we go about doing that? Well, the art fundamentals that I consider and teach to my students are construction, perspective, gesture drawing, anatomy, color and light theory, composition, and design. For a complete art education, I recommend studying all of them, and that's what I focus on in my program, but that's not the topic of this video. What I did when I was younger was specialize rather than build a proper foundation as an artist. Say what? I didn't know about art fundamentals then. Art education wasn't as easily accessible. I'm old, you know. So instead, I ended up only studying what I had an immediate need for at the time. Let's say I was working on a character drawing, which is basically all I did. I'd run into problems, you know, with my anatomy if the muscles didn't look right, or how to create a cool design, how to pose the character in a basic way, or how to color it. And kind of being aware of my shortcomings, I'd look up references for all of it to allow myself to get over those walls and improve at drawing characters. I wouldn't study anatomy directly, but I would find references to allow myself to complete my character, filling those specific gaps in my knowledge one at a time when I encountered them. I guess indirectly, studying a few of the fundamentals that way. Characters was all that I was interested in. This way of doing things left a lot of big gaps in my fundamentals, of course, but also allowed me to dedicate a lot of time to a few immediately relevant fundamentals and not spread myself thin, studying them all without any structure. As a result, I became a specialist at drawing characters that are standing in a neutral pose. Pretty specific, but I ended up finding work that only required that set of skills, namely doing character painting commissions, lots of them, and also coloring some comic books on the side. Doing that, I made enough money to live on my own if I ever had to, which I didn't. I lived with my parents. But that's what I consider being a professional at something, earning a living wage. Now, I will say that I wouldn't necessarily recommend this unless you know exactly what your art goal is. Like, know exactly how you want to make money doing art. If a certain niche is calling for you, try specializing first. In my experience, it's the fastest way to making money. Like if all you want to do is Patreon or do specific commissions like portraits or simple characters, then that might be the fastest way. If you want to do it the right way though, if there's no time rush, if you want to work at a studio or work freelance on projects with others, then don't do that. By specializing, I was luckily able to find studio work early on, joining a big game company at 19 years old as a concept artist, but that's when I quickly felt trapped in my specialization, having to suddenly do a lot more than just basic characters and basic poses. It became really obvious really quickly that I needed to learn proper fundamentals. So I'll always highly recommend studying all fundamentals first with a solid structure. There's no way around it to be able to draw anything you can imagine and become a well-rounded artist. But in some cases though, specializing first can be a nice shortcut towards money if you have a clear plan, that is, like it was in my case, doing simple character commissions. That was actually my goal. I never intended to work as a game developer, so I just fled the usual path, specialized first and broadened my scope later. Finally, real quick, focus on building a relevant portfolio. This one will be shorter since it applies only to those of you who want to become professional artists. It's less general than the previous two habits, but practice what you want to do. Sounds dumb, but what I mean by that is to fill your portfolio with content that would help you find a job. I've been in so many interviews where the applicant would show us an okay portfolio, but full of pieces that had no relevance to our project whatsoever. Like someone looking to work on Overwatch, but only has Call of Duty type of art, super realistic military stuff, or they would just show us a portfolio well below the level of our junior artists expecting a job. There's an easy way to know exactly what skill level is required, what style is the best to have in your portfolio, and what kind of stuff to include in it. Find artists that already have the job you want and do what they do. Easy. That's your goal. Their job is your goal. If they got in, surely you can too if you have something equivalent or better to present to the team. It should give you a target to hit, a clear goal to aim for. Finding artists that way is super easy too. Just browse ArtStation for 2 seconds. Most of what I used to draw when I was a kid were characters from the Blizzard game booklets that came with the box, like Warcraft 2 and Diablo, or their art books too actually. And surprise, surprise, I first ended up working as a game artist and eventually recruited by Blizzard 2 years later at 22. Their art style, their aesthetics eventually rubbed off on me and made my portfolio a good fit. It was a coincidence in my case, but you can definitely be deliberate about this. Like the previous habit I discussed, this is another way to specialize to get to your goals faster. Now, if you don't have a goal to work anywhere specifically, then obviously don't do that either. You leave more doors open if you have a more general portfolio, usually best for one-off gigs or like indie studios where you tend to wear more hats, where a broader set of skills is preferred. For the big studio jobs though, where you get paid a lot more, specializing is the way. Portfolios aren't just collections of artwork that you did, they're advertisement for your services as an artist. Advertise better, do it now. And that's gonna be it for today's class. If you're curious about the brush that I used here, by the way, I'ma give it to you for free to congratulate you for staying until the end of the class and being a good student. It's part of my custom brush set and you can grab that for free in the top right corner of the screen and down in the description below. Just kidding, it's not free. And neither was the class. Make sure you pay the class fee of either 1 like or 1 sub or else.
Very interesting.